And over on Jackpot Button Lewis 1 now, you can see a full roundup of the second round and day 3 at Wimbledon 2025, with all of the latest games from Centre Court, all from the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. That's today at Wimbledon, over on Jackpot Button Lewis 1 now. But right now here on 2, we're now heading across to the English Channel and the Circuit Magny-Cours in France, as we have the 7th round of the 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship season, with highlights from this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix. Introduced by Jack Wright, with live race commentary from Murray Walker in Grand Prix Formula 1. As we return to the European leg of this year's championship, this is Magny-Cours at Nevers. We're about to see the 1995 French Grand Prix. This circuit has only been in use on the F1 calendar since 1991, and quite frankly it's not very well liked, even though it is the home of the French Grand Prix. It's a track that the teams find difficult to set a car up for. It's very smooth and it's got a strange selection of corners, not to mention the extremely tight right-hander down into the start and finish straight. Last year in 1994, this was the scene of yet another Michael Schumacher victory, after he took the lead from Williams' Damon Hill on lap 44 during the first pit stops. He only managed to finish in second position, along with Austrian's Gerhard Berger for the Ferrari team taking third. And meaning that Michael Schumacher won his 6th victory of the year and once again the 7th of his career from last year. And last time out, a few weeks back in Canada, we now saw one incredible historical achievement in the whole world of Formula 1, as we had 3 British drivers take all 3 places on the Canadian Grand Prix podium. First with Scotsman once again David Coulthard for the Williams-Renault team, taking his 3rd race victory of this year's Reimagined Championship, followed by the other British driver of Mark Blundell and his McLaren Mercedes, his 2nd podium of this year, and then followed by Michael Schumacher's British teammate for Benetton Renault of Johnny Herbert, with his 2nd podium of the year so far also too. And this incredible result in a Grand Prix Formula 1 race hasn't happened since the year of 1968 at the American Grand Prix at Watkins Glen, with the drivers of Jackie Stewart, John Surtees and Jim Clark. But as we once again come to Magny-Cours, the weather has other plans for all the drivers and teams, as it's still remaining fairly overcast like just a few weeks ago once again in Montreal, Canada, and there could be the slight chance of rain, but it's not going to be as wet as the race that we had previously a few months back in Imola in San Marino. But following from a very interesting qualifying session from yesterday, This could be a very open race, and if the weather conditions are anything to go by, we are still sadly in for another exciting and possible another eventful race Grand Prix weekend. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Je m'appelle Jack Wright. And more appropriately, if for all our English viewers, a very good evening, all you retro Formula 1 fans. My name is Jack Wright once again, and welcome to another edition of my World Motorsport playthrough series of Grand Prix Formula 1, and to highlights from this afternoon's, once again, 1995 French Grand Prix, coming to you from across of the English Channel at the Circuit Nevers Magny-Cours in, of course, France. And just before at the top of the programme, as you can see, I've had a little bit of a change since I last were with you, of course, for the last round of this year's Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship. And as you can see, I've had a little bit of a little trim on my beard, and also I've had my hair cut recently, and it's all been down also to the very warm weather that we had just quite recently, and unbelievably, as we are now really into the season of summer, we have had some fairly hot weather over. Oh, my apologies there for the air pocket there that just went into my system there. A little bit of of course, a swallow of trapped air there. My apologies. Anyway, as I try and, of course, that completely took me off guard there. My apologies. But yes, everybody, as I said already, welcome to, of course, extended coverage and also highlights from this, once again, afternoon's French Grand Prix from the Circuit Magny-Cours, and once again, round 7 of the reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship. We'd also like to remind you that we've also been having some more technical problems. If you might have remembered that the last time out we brought you coverage of and highlights of the last round, round 6, that being the Canadian Grand Prix, the 1995 Molson Canadian Grand Prix from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. We have been going through a load of technical problems, and it's all down, unbelievably, if you had not seen already from my recent posts, also not just on Instagram but also on YouTube. We've had a load of problems with our technical equipment, including my computer and also the storage devices, as you can see just around here as well. And unbelievably, due to these particular storage facilities, or of course compatible hard drives having been damaged, or some of the footage or storage was lost, being used for other, of course, projects outside of this series, and also in the Jackpot and Button Lewis Productions universe, sports universe. We unfortunately had to delay the last episode, but unbelievably we've managed to fix the, of course, the problems. We had problems with our inlay graphics that we show you of the constructors and drivers championship tables, the race result table as well, and a load of branding as well, and of course in between the continuity, such as programs coming up, and also a little teaser of the next round of the championship. But we have got a very exciting, of course, racing prospect, and as we currently look over the Circuit Magny-Cours, of course, from our studio, it is looking fairly overcast at the moment, as we did actually here earlier on. And as you might remember from the end of the last edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, there could be the possibility of some more rain on the way for this particular race. We do know that just unbelievably, just because of this game, there are only two options to have, either a dry or wet weather race. And we've really been, of course, having long discussions of how to try and make it as accurate as possible to the real-life race that happened 30 years ago, as of this week, unbelievably, on the 2nd of July, which is also today, also. And And we are seeing that currently also the weather reports that we have been seeing so far, and even if I can just quickly check on my phone here, that there is a possible 40 or 50% chance of rain. It's not going to be heavy, as we've confirmed here, but it could be light and might be just drizzly in parts. So it could make it very, very interesting, as of course as the race gets underway, when we show you highlights very, very shortly. And with also that being said, before we get to how qualifying and the practice session got underway, let's quickly remind you of the current situation regarding the 1995 reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, of course Drivers' Championship and Constructors' Championship tables so far. And just to remind you, after another impressive race victory from David Coulthard, his third of the year, and make that also unbelievably an impressive 1-2-3 finish of British drivers for the first time ever in Formula 1 history. That has happened since a few decades ago, back in 1968 at the American Grand Prix in Watkins Glen, where Jackie Stewart, Jim Clark and also John Surtees all finished on the top three steps of the podium, all being under the same nationality of course, Great Britain. And we can just remind you that currently David Coulthard is leading the Drivers' Championship just by an amazing 12-point lead. Of course, that's made all the difference, his win there, of course, last time out in Canada over Michael Schumacher, who is in second place at the moment, and he currently has 18 points. And 1 point just ahead of his British teammate Johnny Herbert, who finished third last time out in Canada in third place with 17 points. And then, unbelievably, as we not mentioned also, Mark Blundell taking his second podium of the year and finishing in second for the Marlboro McLaren Mercedes team. He is currently in fourth place at the moment, just 2 points behind with 15 points. Then 1 point behind him in fifth place is Damon Hill, the other of the British drivers for Williams-Renault. We're currently with 14 points. Sixth is Gerhard Berger with 12 points for Ferrari, and he hopefully is still within half a chance of still making it into the top five. Hopefully, if he has a good result as of this afternoon's French Grand Prix. Currently also in seventh place is Rubens Barrichello, 1 point also behind with 11 points. And then John Alesi is in eighth with 10 points. Carl Wendlinger is in ninth for 5 points, even though that he's now, of course, been away for the next few races or so, following his, once again to remind you, a head injury assessment he picked up at last year's Monaco Grand Prix. But unbelievably, following another points finish, as he finished in sixth place last time out in Canada, in 10th place is his replacement driver, Frenchman Jean-Christophe Bourgnon, and he rounds up the top 10 at the moment with 4 points. And as we, that's once again covering the Drivers' Championship. Let's have a quick look at the Constructors' Championship table next. And at the moment, all down to that very important third race victory for the constructor themselves of Williams-Renault. They currently lead, unbelievably, by a narrow 3-point lead over Benetton Renault, who are in second at the moment with 31 points over 34th, that being for Williams. McLaren Mercedes move up ahead of Ferrari, and they are currently ahead by also 3 points as well with 25. Ferrari are in fourth with 22, and then also 1 point in it between both Jordan Peugeot and Sauber Ford with both 11 and 10, and still yet to score at the moment in 7th, 8th and 9th are Tyrrell Yamaha, Ligier Mugen Honda and Footwork Hart with 4, 3 and 2 points. So there you go, everybody. That is once again a quick reminder of the, of course, the current situation regarding the reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship, as we are nearing, unbelievably, the halfway point of the championship when we go to the next race, which unbelievably happens to be the home race for a load of the British drivers, and that is pretty obvious. Of course, we are talking about the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. But before we can get to that, let's quickly remind you, and before we get to highlights from this afternoon's French Grand Prix of 1995, we can just quickly remind you that we didn't have much to report on with practice, but we do know that the weather conditions, as of currently, it has been remaining quite on overcast for most of the weekend, and if that was anything to go by, that has also really mixed up the qualifying positions, because unbelievably, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but thanks to the luck of the Irish, Northern Irish driver and fellow British driver, because it is part of the United Kingdom also too, as well as Great Britain, of course, that being Eddie Irvine in the Jordan Peugeot, has got his, not just his first pole position of the year, but of his entire career, and also Jordan's first ever pole position in Formula One history as well. I mean, that is absolutely unbelievable, and it's so funny actually, because our of course our graphic on our computer is actually the same car of Eddie Irvine, who was actually featured in the actual Formula One of course game, which we are basing the series off, and of course he wearing his signature red and green striped helmet there, and racing as number 15 in his once again total sponsored Jordan Peugeot of course F1 team car there. And Jordan have actually unbelievably in real life they weren't that good reliability wise over 30 years ago, but in the later half of the season they managed to put out some very impressive points finishes. So and especially with Rubens Barrichello in the last few races, he has still been doing pretty well at the moment in the current Drivers' Championship as well as for the constructors. But especially with Eddie Irvine being on pole, he's had a few good of course qualifying results as of recently, and unbelievably amazing to see the flying Finn himself, Mika Hakkinen, for the Marlboro McLaren Mercedes team. He has managed to get his best qualifying so far of this year, finishing starting in second place, ahead of also a very good qualifying also there from Michael Schumacher for Benetton Renault in third there, and the likes of Damon Hill also just behind him in fourth. I mean, as I've said before, I think as this race comes, of course, ever so closer, this could be one of the most unpredictable races of the year so far, and I know that this is only possibly, we could be heading to our second wet weather race of this year, even though it's not going to be completely wet. It could be wet and dry, and it could be patchy in places, and can cause some real havoc among the drivers and teams, because as you did hear at the top of the program, this circuit of the Circuit Nevers Magny-Cours is a car that, a circuit that that drivers and teams do struggle and find difficult to set a car up for it being a very smooth circuit, and it's quite it's got some undulation on some of the corners, and an extreme and wouldn't say an extreme, but a strange selection of corners, and not to mention the extremely tight right-hander named Laishi at the end of going into the start and finish straight. So it's going to be very interesting, and especially with of course with this time we're following Michael Schumacher. As you can see, we of course are wearing a replica style of the team wear that they wore here, of course, sponsored by the Japanese cigarette Mild 7. I'll just quickly show you the back as well, if you have not actually seen it before. As you can see there, with the Ford logo and the back and United colours of Benetton logo there as an official clothes brand of the team as well, which I think actually, if I'm not mistaken, that's how actually they initially got their name. But I could be wrong actually, but actually while I'm here, I'll have a quick look and see if that actually is true. But amazing to see that brilliant qualifying once again there from the team there, and I think also to my knowledge, I think Schumacher's teammate Herbert managed to do pretty well, and unbelievably, amazingly to see that the Italian manufacturer Minardi also did well with Luca Badoa unbelievably qualifying in 6th place there. But it's obviously when it comes to these wet weather races, and just through the AI in the game, it can just completely have a total mix-up of the grid, and that's what we've got right here. Yeah, unbelievably unlucky for some, for Johnny Herbert, because he is starting in 13th place. And but among the some of the back markers and some of the midfield teams, they've had a real boost to actually try and compete with the front runners. So we're going to be in once again, as I said before, for a very exciting race here, and I do know that unbelievably there was an actual family, unbelievably, that were based in Italy. They actually founded the group back in 1965. That's where actually it all started from. But interesting to know that they it was owned by the family, but they were unbelievably based in Enstone, which is based here in the UK, and more specifically in England. In it's just a village and civil parish east of Chipping Norton, and also 15 miles northwest of Oxford, the city of Oxford. And it's also one of Oxfordshire's largest cities, and consisting of the villages of Church Enstone and Neat Enstone, with the hamlets of Chalford, Cleverley, or is that Cleveley there, sorry, Fulwell, Gaggingwell, Lidstone and Radford. So a little interesting fact there for all of you, of course, Formula 1 enthusiasts there. So, well, with that being said, there's nothing much to report really, but we haven't had any driver substitutes, but we have, unbelievably, have been hearing talks recently that among the Footwork Arrows Heart team, they are possibly looking to replace one of the drivers. I think it's either Gianni Morbidelli or Taki Inoue for next time out at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And that's going to be the driver of Massimiliano Max Papis. And we do know that, unbelievably, as well as I pick up my phone one last time here before we get to highlights of the race, I think actually, to my knowledge, that back then he was a well-known racing driver. He is, once again, to remind you all, if you have not known already, he is the son-in-law of Emerson Fittipaldi, former Formula World Champion back in 1974. And he's also competed at Le Mans and also Champ Car, and he's had 3 Champ Car victories in his career. And he was born on the 3rd of October 1969 in a place known as Como in Italy, which is just off the lake area against the picturesque, of course, Lake Como in Italy. And we do know that we've also found out that he's gone on to have a very interesting career in later life, of course, in the IndyCar series in America, as well as NASCAR as well. This is obviously way after his time in Formula 1, but he only has been put down for a few races as of this year, and we'll look forward to seeing how he'll get on. Oh, my apologies, actually we found out that he didn't race at Le Mans until 1997, but interesting to know that he also he was also being given a nickname Mad Max at the 24 Hours of Daytona at the previous year to this year, or in the series of 1995 or 1996 during his last stint of the race. Even though he managed to finish in 2nd place in his Ferrari 3.3 SP had been battered due to collisions. Some of its bodywork was held together by tape, and Papis managed to unlap himself by passing the race leader of the Doyle Racing Riley and Scott Oldsmobile, driven by Wayne Taylor, and proceeded to set some of the fastest laps of the entire race. And he was nursing the car around the track due to an overheating problem, I think, of the engine, and otherwise he would have been able to cruise to a victory. But the pace and the slowing Oldsmobile suggested that Papis could have theoretically took the win from that driver. So very interesting to see that there, everybody. And we do know that before that he was racing at international Formula 3000 level, and he also won a few races also back in 1993 for Vortex Motorsport. And his best result was also just unbelievably from the end of, from the third round at Catalonia in Barcelona, Spain. He actually took a victory, and that was his best result that he did for Mythos Racing, and driving a Reynard 94D engine, of course, Judd engine powered car there. So very interesting to hear about that as well. But anyway, with that out of the way, that's all we've got to report on driver changes for the current moment. But we'll have more on that after, of course, as we now can get to the starting grid. And now it's time for me to hand you over to, of course, not just to my commentating partner of the legendary voice of Formula One himself, Murray Walker, but as I head over to the commentary box now, it's time for the starting grid for round 7 of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship, with the 1995 Grand Prix de France from the Circuit Nevers Magny-Cours here in France. And once again, round 7 of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship. Here is the starting grid for round 7 of the 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship with the French Grand Prix. And for the first time in his Formula One career, Northern Irishman Eddie Irvine takes his first pole position of the year in his Jordan Peugeot, with the flying Finn of Mika Hakkinen in his McLaren Mercedes in second. Schumacher is third in his Benetton, with fourth Damon Hill in his Williams, with his Scotsman teammate David Coulthard in fifth. An impressive career best there for Luca Badeau in his Minardi in sixth, with Jean Alesi in his Ferrari in seventh. Barrichello is 8th, with Pierluigi Martini also in his Minardi in 9th, with Parnis in 10th in his Ligier. 11th is Gerhard Berger with Martin Brundle in 12th. Johnny Herbert is 13th, with an impressive 14th from Brazilian Pedro Diniz in his 40 Course Ford. 15th is Heinz-Harald Frentzen with Mark Blundell in 16th, with 17th Mika Salo, along with Jean-Christophe Bougnot in 18th in his Sauber. Morbidelli is 19th, with Taki Inoue in 20th. Katayama takes 21st, along with Andrea Montemini in 22nd in the first of the Pacific Fords, with Frenchman Bertrand Gachot in 23rd, and starting from the back is Brazilian Roberto Marino in the second 40 Course Ford.
Welcome to the French Grand Prix here in Magny-Cours.
FIA Formula One World Championship. Round 7. The 1995 Grand Prix de France from Magny-Cours. And now, to take you through all 72 laps of this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix, here from the Circuit Nevers Magny-Cours, it's now time to hand you over to our official race commentators. First of all, Jack Wright, then followed shortly as always by the legendary voice of Formula One himself, Murray Walker. So, as a fine mist now starts to develop around the Circuit Magny-Cours here in France for once again the 7th round of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship with the 1995 French Grand Prix once again here from the Circuit Nevers Magny-Cours. This is very exciting, especially with the impressive pole position there from Northern Irishman Eddie Irvine in his Jordan Peugeot, his best qualifying so far as of this year, and this could be a real chance for Jordan to hopefully get a podium after narrowly missing out on last time out in Canada and Montreal, and not to mention also an impressive second place there from Mika Hakkinen, and also with the likes of even Luca Badoer and Pierluigi Martini, the Italian duo there for Minardi, also in 4th and in 9th there. It's going to be very exciting to see what they can do. I know that they've really been struggling with pace over the last few races, but especially when it comes to these races when it's overcast and there could be a little bit of rain, they could really try and really mix it with the front runners, and especially with the likes of with Johnny Herbert down all the way in 13th after an impressive, of course, second podium of the year in Canada. It's going to be very interesting to see most of the front runners actually being right in the thick of the pack right at the start of this race. So and especially with just with the current skies over the circuit, it is looking fairly overcast, and there is a bit of moisture in the air. There could be a little bit of a chance of rain, not too heavy though, as we mentioned earlier on, but there could be the slight drizzle, and especially since there is no intermediate tyres, there's only wet weather tyres or slicks, it's going to send all of the pit crews of the teams into an absolute panic. I think actually it's going to be just absolutely chaotic, and it's we're going to be in for, I think, quite the unexpected and quite unpredictable race as of this year. So but we can only see what will happen as soon as those once again those red lights go out, and once again as the green light will show, we'll be underway for all 72 laps of this afternoon's French Grand Prix. So without further ado, it's time for us to see who will take the next victory of this year's Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship, as it's time for race highlights of this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix here from the Circuit Magny-Cours in France. Well, he's already in the points there, Murray, but that's a brilliant start from Schumacher there, and he nearly got overtaken by Coulthard. Oh!
That's taken him up a position.
I think he just mistimed his braking. He's just rear-ended Eddie Irvine's Jordan Peugeot. That was completely unintentional there, but he had, I think, Hill right beside him, and we're seeing already there is a lot of moisture in the air, and there's almost like a bit of some rooster tails of water spray coming off the cars. And we know that this is mostly drizzle, but that's a brilliant start for Schumacher though. Really unfortunate that I know he didn't intend to hit the back of Irvine there, I'm sure. But he cleared Hill quite easily, and also Hakkinen. He's still got a good start though, Irvine.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
And he's almost wheel to wheel with the Northern Irishman there. As they approach the Adelaide hairpin again. Oh!
Race order. Eddie Irvine, Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, John Alesi.
And Damon Hill nearly got the chance of overtaking Schumacher into that hairpin. But Schumacher still holds on to second as he tries to find a gap from somewhere to overtake that Jordan Peugeot. Oh, he's going for a move.
Visually just how small the gap is. He's taken the lead.
And that was brilliant. But yes, as you said there, Murray, just before you could see how close and visually how small the gap was there. There was a gap there open for Schumacher, and now he is leading the 1995 French Grand Prix here at Circuit Magny-Cours. In only just 3 laps out of 72 of this afternoon's race distance. Coulthard is in 4th, Alesi in 5th, and Mika Häkkinen now drops down to 6th place from qualifying initially in 2nd from yesterday's qualifying session.
This young man really is a superlative driver.
Well, it's great to see, Murray, that he's making up for, I think, quite an unfortunate performance last time out in Canada when I think he went out of the points, unfortunately, but he's still holding on to 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. And I honestly think that since he's got such a quick car, and the current position of...
Race order. Michael Schumacher, Eddie Irvine, Damon Hill, David Coulthard.
I was going to say that before you interrupted me there, Murray, the current weather conditions, this could be really interesting, and I think it will definitely suit the Benetton RS10 car, because I do know that the last time that we had similar weather conditions, but not as wet, even though you may be seeing it on your screens right now watching this, was back in at San Marino for the San Marino Grand Prix, where Damon Hill had one of the most dominant wet weather drives we've seen all season so far. And Schumacher already sets an early lap, fastest lap.
Man really is a superlative driver.
Well, as you say again there, Murray, I think he's really proving that despite missing out on the points, and even though he's only won 1 race so far this season, back at the Spanish Grand Prix at Barcelona in Catalonia, I think he could still be in contention to hopefully towards the second half of this year's championship, he could still find himself another potential contender to take back the Drivers' Championship lead. And I mean, it's very close among the likes of him and also his championship rival from last year of...
Race order. First, Michael Schumacher. In 2nd position, Eddie Irvine. In 3rd place, Damon Hill. 4th, Mika Häkkinen. In 5th position, David Coulthard. In 6th place, John Alesi.
Well, as you just said there, Damon Hill, who's still in 3rd, and Mika Häkkinen has now moved up to 4th place, overtaking David Coulthard. Hill's teammate for Williams. Amazing to see that the McLaren Mercedes team are, they were actually were deemed
Right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
not to be as quick as the likes of Benetton and Williams, but they are still trying to make the best out of the car that they have with that MP4 10 car and chassis that they have running for this year. And not to mention their second podium finish thanks to Mark Blundell in the last race of this year's championship in Montreal, Canada. Now, just because Schumacher is leading the number one to another fastest lap of 1 minute 26.831 of a second, he needs to take it easy out there, because I know that the curbs, even in this quite damp weather, it only takes one mistake and he'll be spinning his
Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Eddie Irvine. In third place, Damon Hill. Fourth, Mika Häkkinen. In fifth, David Coulthard. In sixth place, Jean Alesi.
Here's Benetton Renault to spin out.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Well, not just that, Murray, but I'm sure he's getting a little damp in his cockpit. The rain is starting to fall. Wouldn't say consistently. Oh! And he's already caught up with the back markers, and that's, I think, Roberto Moreno in his 40 course Ford just ahead of him. He's already starting to catch up with back markers already. And he's unbelievably already ahead by 37 seconds to Eddie Irvine, which was down by 34 seconds earlier, but now it's moved up to, once again, 37 seconds. I'm sure the marshals will be starting to wave blue flags, because Schumacher is about to lap some of these back markers here. A lot of spray. Oh! And he just goes on the grass. But luckily he doesn't spin out, surprisingly. Wow! That looks so dangerous. It looked like, I think, Moreno wanted to force Schumacher off the track there. But amazingly, Schumacher kept the car under control. Ooh, and he's just gone a little wide. He was near the grass.
The race leader, Michael Schumacher. Second, Eddie Irvine. In third, Mika Häkkinen. It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that. In fourth place, David Coulthard. Fifth, Damon Hill. In sixth position, Jean Alesi.
No change to the current top six at the moment. But Schumacher still is holding a very all-important lead here. And as I've said before, if I haven't said already here, Murray, this is a very important position that Schumacher needs to have here. And Mika Häkkinen now moves up to second place in his McLaren Mercedes, overtaking Irvine's Jordan. But a win here this afternoon will put him right back in contention of the championship from his, I think, well, obviously not just his championship rival of Damon Hill, but Hill's teammate of Scotsman David Coulthard also too, who's currently leading by 12 points at the moment before the start of this race this afternoon here at Magny-Cours in France. He's stuck behind, I think that's Taki Inoue's footwork. And looks like, I think, a blue flag's been waved by the marshals. Inoue needs to let him past, as well as, I think that's one of the Tyrrells. Ooh! I think that must be of Katayama. Ooh!
In third place, David Coulthard. In fourth, Eddie Irvine.
And he's gone on the grass again.
John Alesi. In sixth, Damon Hill.
And he had to go on the grass again just to get past, but he didn't gain an advantage, surprisingly enough, there. Because they looked like they were blocking the racing line, but Schumacher, another close shave for the German again as he catches up with Gianni Morbidelli in the second of the footwork hearts. A blue flag has been waved by the marshals. He needs to let him pass as he comes down to the Adelaide hairpin, and he does. Schumacher currently leads 39 seconds to Mika Häkkinen in his McLaren Mercedes at the present moment. Oh, and there's a real battle. I think that could be Martini in his Minardi, even though he started in 9th place. But he's dropped down because of the lack of power in his Ford-powered Minardi.
You've got to be good. And he is that.
Compared to the Renault power of the Benetton. It looked like he also tagged Mika Salo, and he's also passed Schumacher. Past Salo's Tyrrell Yamaha in quick succession.
Race order. First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Mika Häkkinen. In third place, David Coulthard. Fourth, John Alesi. In fifth, Eddie Irvine. In sixth place, Gerhard Berger.
Irvine has really dropped down from first to unbelievably fifth. But Mika Häkkinen is holding on to a precious second place for the McLaren Mercedes team so far. He hasn't been on the podium in his Formula One career as of yet, but we have seen him have flashes of brilliance. You go back to the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola as he overtakes Luca Badoa in the other Minardi Fords. And both Alesi and Berger, they started in both, I think it was 5th and 6th to start. Well, further down actually the order, but they're already now in 4th and 5th at the moment, the Ferrari drivers. Well, I don't think we've actually seen Michael Schumacher actually race in these kind of, well, I wouldn't say wet conditions, because it's not completely wet, even though it may look quite deceiving to all of you watching, as he passes, I think that's Martin Brundle's Ligier. But there's definitely a bit of drizzle in the air at the moment.
Race order. The race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second, Mika Häkkinen. Third, David Coulthard. In fourth position, John Alesi. In fifth place, Gerhard Berger. Sixth, Eddie Irvine.
Now we've also just heard from Michael Schumacher's race engineer, that he is going for a two-stop strategy in this race, and if the weather conditions are going to remain the same for a majority of the race, he's going to try and brave it with wet tyres. And he is managing to have an impressive, just around about 40 seconds lead gap over Häkkinen at the moment. As he's...
really is a superlative driver.
As he's about to approach, unbelievably, a quarter of the race distance out of 72 so far as of this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix. But it has been said that he'll come in for his first pit stop on lap 24, which is in 12 laps time. And Schumacher is about to approach, and he does. He overtakes. Oh, that was actually Martin Brundle. We just saw the brief glimpse of his white and British flag themed helmet. So that must have been Parnis. So, unbelievably, Martin Brundle is the faster of the two Ligier drivers so far this afternoon. And not to mention, this is, of course, the team's home race.
The race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second place, Mika Häkkinen. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth position, Jean Alesi. In fifth place, Gerhard Berger. Sixth, Eddie Irvine.
But I don't think they may not have the opportunity to win in front of the French crowd here, but Alesi is still one of the best hopes for any of the for any of the French drivers racing this afternoon. Well, he is definitely proving himself here, Michael. He is definitely not just being lucky. He's more than good at the moment, despite the unfortunate collision he did to Irvine earlier. And amazingly, despite that damage, I think to his front wing, it's incredible he's still actually even in racing and still leading the French Grand Prix here at the moment. But I have to say that he is starting to struggle because the conditions are very unpredictable, to say the least. But the track is starting to feel slightly damper again, and Schumacher's about to catch up with his British teammate Johnny Herbert, who I think has been slowed down by back markers. And he overtakes him comfortably. Ooh!
In second place, Mika Häkkinen. In third position, Jean Alesi. Fourth, David Coulthard. In fifth, Gerhard Berger. In sixth place, Damon Hill. It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
As you say there again, Murray, Herbert manages to just catch Schumacher. I wouldn't say he was napping, but he did slow down and... Oh, he's made contact with a Pacific! I think that must have been Montemini. Surely there would have been an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning and a black and white diagonal flag for that collision there. Herbert needs to be careful. If he continues doing that 2 more times, he could be disqualified from today's race. And look at this wheel-to-wheel battle. Oh, I'm not sure if there was contact. But Schumacher is about to approach Barrichello's Jordan. And he overtakes him into the Adelaide hairpin. The conditions are really slowing the cars down. It's because of how slippery the conditions are. As Schumacher is currently on lap 15 out of 72 of this year's 1995 French Grand Prix. Brilliant overtake there from, I think that was one of the Red Bull Sauber Fords of, I think that was Frentzen, I think?
First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Mika Häkkinen. He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. In third, Jean Alesi. Fourth, David Coulthard. In fifth place, Gerhard Berger. In sixth, Damon Hill.
Well, there's been a real battle here as Schumacher, I think, is unbelievably starting to lap the field for a second time here. And I can't even see that battle. There's a lot of spray in front of Schumacher. I think that could be... I think that was Irvine in the other Jordan. Which he just manages to get past. Oh, they nearly touched wheels there. And Schumacher approaches fellow German, that being Heinz-Harald Frentzen, in his Sauber, and he's passed him easily. And now, unbelievably, Schumacher has now got a minute and 14 seconds gap to Mika Häkkinen in his McLaren Mercedes. So far, in this race of this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
Well, he's starting to really excel in them here, Murray. We're really seeing some very...
Race order. The race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second, Gerhard Berger. Third, David Coulthard. In fourth position, Mika Häkkinen. In fifth place, Jean Alesi. Sixth, Damon Hill.
We are seeing some very impressive driving in these very unpredictable conditions here at Magny-Cours. As Schumacher approaches, I think that could be David Coulthard. But we do know that Damon Hill is currently in 6th place at the moment, holding on to a vital championship point to keep with himself of the Drivers' Championship title hunt. But he's going to get him on the start-finish straight, and he overtakes him with ease. And he's already just lapped him, unbelievably there, as it shows up on the screen. Well, he may have a very lengthy...
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
He may have quite a long distance time gap between him, but that could be immediately cut as soon as he takes his first pit stop of this year's French Grand Prix. There's 54 laps remaining of this afternoon's race. Oh!
Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. In second place, Gerhard Berger. In third position, David Coulthard. In fourth, Mika Häkkinen. Fifth, Jean Alesi. In sixth position, Damon Hill.
And as I was just about to say, Murray, he is catching up with Frenchman John Alesi to try and lap him here. And he's nearly caught him up here. As we... Oh, he's gone wide onto the grass! I think he's starting to lose a bit of grip from his tyres. Luckily, he's kept the engine running, though. And one of the footworks is right on his tail now. I know that actually is Damon Hill in his Williams.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
How many more times are you going to say that this afternoon, Murray? Oh no! Schumacher spun! Oh no!
And he's taken that one very well.
He's just accelerated a bit too much on the curb, and his Renault-powered Benetton spins around onto the grass. But luckily, the engine hasn't stalled. Well, it's a good job that, even if that weren't to have happened, he's still got a huge gap lead over Gerhard Berger, who is now up into second position. He is starting to approach his first pit stop of this afternoon.
Race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second place, Gerhard Berger. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth position, Mika Häkkinen. In fifth place, John Alesi. Sixth, Damon Hill.
And there's another blue flag. I think that's for Taki Inoue, I think, in his footwork. He must let Schumacher pass, which he does again, even though he was catching him up, but once again he has already been lapped for, I think, a second time this afternoon. And he's only just a few laps away, once again, Schumacher, from pitting, once again, from the lead.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
No change to the fastest lap. Oh, and there was a bit of contact. I think that was Frentzen on Katayama's Tyrrell. And there's a black and white diagonal flag for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Dirty driving there from the German, and he manages to pass Mark Blundell's McLaren. In the process also too. And as well as that, he's passed Olivier Panis's Ligier Mugen Honda as well. The young German is flying round here at the present moment. I certainly wasn't expecting him to be this dominant again, but the gap has gone down slightly, despite the spin he had on the, I think it was the last lap. Oh, and looks like, I think, Coulthard's been...
In first, Michael Schumacher. In second place, Gerhard Berger. In third position, David Coulthard. Fourth, John Alesi. In fifth, Damon Hill. In sixth place, Mika Häkkinen.
And there he goes past, I think that was Hill again, or it might have been Coulthard, it was one of the Williams Renaults anyway. He's passed...
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
one of the Minardis, and Schumacher's also overtook him in succession again as well. Brilliant overtake once again on Alesi. Or that might have been Berger, even though he is, like I said, in second place at the moment. Oh, it looked like he got held up, and my goodness! Wow! I think that was either Lacey and Hill. They've managed to overtake Schumacher again and lapping themselves. Once again, oh! I'm not sure if there was contact. They could have made contact together. But there's a gap. Oh! And I think that might be Pierluigi Martini who's just made contact. I think that was with Coulthard. And there's also a black and white diagonal flag for unsportsmanlike behaviour for causing...
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Jean Alesi.
For once again causing an avoidable collision.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
Well, we do know that after this lap, Schumacher will be in for his first pit stop, and I think after the unexpected contact he had with Irvine on the first lap, I think he might need to change that front wing. I know it's still on there, but I think it would be slightly damaged. Even though he is already over a minute ahead, he's still having a real, quite interesting lap battle. As, I don't know, of course, if this actually has ever been mentioned before. But also, Schumacher, his time gap has gone down from 56 to 54 seconds now over Gerhard Berger. I think he's just trying to get his car to the first pit stop as quickly as possible. He manages to get past Coulthard again, I think.
Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Jean Alesi.
And Coulthard is right back in it here, as I think that was Alesi was being held up by one of the Pacific Fords of Gasho. Oh, he just goes on the grass again. He just got to the end of that curb. But luckily, he managed to keep his car under control. Oh, he's gone wide. But Schumacher is going to come in for his first pit stop. Just right now, in he comes. From the lead.
Speed.
And he was quite low on fuel there. There's also a bit of damage on his front wing, so he is going to top up with fuel. This is a very long race this afternoon.
Oh my word! It's a slow stop.
16.7 seconds. But once again, that was mostly down to the amount of fuel that was being put in the car. That may have been a slow one, Murray, but especially with the time gap he has developed over the first quarter of this race, he's got a little bit of a...
In first, Michael Schumacher. Second, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. In fourth, Damon Hill. In 5th position, Jean Alesi. In 6th, Mika Häkkinen.
He has got a bit of a time cushion, but unbelievably, despite that slow pit stop, Berger is now starting to catch up with Schumacher here. And he's only just 21 seconds behind. Coulthard 3rd, Hill 4th, Alesi 5th, and Mika Häkkinen rounds up the top 6 at the moment in this afternoon's French Grand Prix here from Magny-Cours. Let's drop down now to 17.778 hundredths of a second. There's quite a bit of pressure on Schumacher at the moment, even though he has got that lead, but it's his job now to hopefully try and
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
maintain that gap for as long as possible. Oh! And Herbert, Schumacher's teammate again, was going for a move on a Minardi, which he does. I think that was on Luca Badoa. And I think Schumacher is going to follow suit. He just is waiting to try and stick to the racing line and try and find a gap whenever he can.
First, Michael Schumacher. In 2nd position, Gerhard Berger. In 3rd place, David Coulthard. 4th, Damon Hill. In 5th, Jean Alesi. In 6th,
Whoa!
Mika Häkkinen.
It looked like his car just snapped there. And I don't think that was because of a steering lock, but there was a very slow Pacific Ford, and that being Andrea Montemini there. Luckily, he saw a blue flag from the marshals. I know he wasn't that far, but it looked like he might have just aquaplaned there. The rain is starting to fall a bit more heavily. I was going to say heavenly a little bit, but that wouldn't make sense.
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Schumacher is right on Herbert's tail. Even though they are teammates, he's about to try and overtake him for another time this afternoon. It's looking more likely. I don't think he will be fortunate enough to get a podium this afternoon. It's going to be mostly down to his German teammate, that being once again Michael Schumacher himself. He does manage to get past him though, and Berger now closes the gap to 12 seconds. It looks like that the
race leader, Michael Schumacher. In 2nd, Gerhard Berger. 3rd, David Coulthard. In 4th position, Damon Hill. In 5th place, Jean Alesi. 6th, Mika Häkkinen.
It looks like the lap times are starting to go down a little bit following these conditions. It's amazing that some of the drivers are even just managing to just keep their cars under control. And I know that it may not be in full
You've got to be good. And he is that.
wet weather conditions, but even damp conditions like we had at Imola, they can be just as unpredictable and challenging as full-on wet weather conditions can be. But Schumacher is doing well so far, as he's about to reach the halfway point of this afternoon's French Grand Prix here from Magny-Cours. Still the fastest lap. He holds a 1 minute 26.681 of a second. It goes up slightly, the gap, from 16.908 to 18.737.
Race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second place, Gerhard Berger. In third, Damon Hill. In fourth position, David Coulthard. In fifth place, Jean Alesi. Sixth, Mike's Harold Frenson.
And unbelievably, as the drivers have gone a little bit more later with their pit stops, Germany's Heitald Frenson in his Red Bull Sauber Ford is currently holding on to 1 championship point at the moment. I was going to say Martin Brundle's looking fairly slow in his Ligier at the moment. A gap is there and he's passed Schumacher. Meaning Schumacher's passed him, and I'm sure he'll overtake Bertrand Gachot with no problem at all in his Pacific Ford, also to a few corners afterwards. Schumacher approaches. Oh! And there was contact!
Race order. Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill, David Coulthard.
And that was contact, I think, from Roberto Moreno on, I think that was Barrichello, fellow Brazilian. And another black and white diagonal flag there for Roberto Moreno. But once again, unsportsmanlike behaviour. One more of them, and he could be facing a disqualification. Nearly brushing the edge of the circuit there. Going through, once again, the first few corners here at Magny-Cours for Schumacher. And Berger closes the gap on 13 seconds to Schumacher again. Oh! That was quite a heavy lock-up there. He went a little bit too long into the corner there, but he managed to turn the car around just in time. I think Schumacher is starting to struggle with grip here, even though he has got wet weather tyres on. I don't know if the track is starting to dry out in places, because there's definitely a dry line appearing on the circuit, even though it's not as visible to all our viewers who may be watching. We'd also like to apologise for the few occasional freezes in our broadcast. This is due to a scratched game disc that we're running this race on. But we've resorted to a few copies in case this happened during this series at any point.
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill, David Coulthard.
Schumacher passes once again one of the other Ferraris. 40 laps are remaining, as Schumacher is currently on lap 32 of this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix. Schumacher couldn't be in a more better position. Well, as you just said there, Murray, it is raining, but it's not as heavy as you might be seeing it. And for all you viewers watching, it's still fairly misty, and there is some low-level cloud, but the rain is only falling quite lightly now. It's only just quite in a drizzle state at the moment, really. This is obviously the closest to those kind of conditions we are showing you on this race on this afternoon here on Grand Prix Formula 1. From the settings that we had from the game itself.
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Schumacher still leads from Gerhard Berger in second. And I think still David Coulthard is still in third at the moment. An all-important podium for Ferrari here at the moment. That'll put them right back in contention of the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship if it were to stay the same, but once again we are just coming up to halfway through the full race distance.
Michael Schumacher in second position, Gerhard Berger. Third, Damon Hill. In fourth, David Coulthard. In fifth place, Mika Häkkinen. Sixth, Jean Alesi.
My apologies, that was Hill that was in third. Coulthard there, as you just said there, Murray in fourth. But a brilliant race so far from the Williams team. Great to see that Damon Hill is having another turn of good fortune, I think it has to be said. Alesi has already been lapped by Schumacher. Berger is 20 seconds behind Schumacher at the moment.
They're really right on the edge, pushing into the limit all the time.
Well, I won't just say that there, Murray, but they are really finding these quite dampened, very overcast conditions. It's been the most challenging, I think, conditions for any of the races we've had so far in this series. But it's, once again, made it unmissable viewing for all of you watching right now. And we couldn't have been in a more better place to give you all of the race action here from Magny-Cours. All on Grand Prix Formula 1 here.
Michael Schumacher in second, Gerhard Berger. Third, Damon Hill. In fourth place, David Coulthard. In fifth, Mika Häkkinen. In sixth position, Jean Alesi.
And to finish what I was saying there, exclusively here on Jackpot, Button Lewis Sport Productions. Just to remind you that in a few weeks' time we'll be also heading to the 1995 British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And I'm sure that even if Schumacher wins here this afternoon, after what happened a year ago in 1994, I hope that Damon Hill, or even David Coulthard, or even Johnny Herbert for the Benetton team, they want to put on a good performance in front of their home crowd, which once again is the Grand Prix that it started it all back over outside of this series 75 years ago, as we were celebrating it at the last race in Canada, the closest to the actual race date of the 13th of May 1950. We'll also have information on this year's 2025 FIA Formula 1 World Championship 75th anniversary Celebratory Championship also later on in the program, and it'll be from the same racetrack but a different layout.
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill, David Coulthard.
And because now I think Berger has now just pitted, Damon Hill is now moved up to second place in his Williams Renault, along with his fellow British teammate David Coulthard now in third. The Williams Renaults are starting to put a bit of pressure on the Benetton team.
You've got to be good, and he is that.
So currently Coulthard is in fourth and Häkkinen in fifth, even though they have been lapped so far by Schumacher. I think that's because of, well, basically the blistering pace that Schumacher has had so far. Even though he's 25 seconds ahead. Still unbelievably, my apologies, Berger is still in second. I think I must have misheard that. I think Hill's in third, Coulthard's in fourth. And as we just saw there, I think Mika Häkkinen still might be in fifth place, with Alesi down in sixth place at the present moment. And that's past Mark Blundell's McLaren Mercedes again.
Race order: Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill, Mika Häkkinen.
Well, look at that. Mika Häkkinen is once again.
And really is a superlative driver.
As we now ride on board with Schumacher. It's amazing that McLaren Mercedes and the flying fin of Mika Häkkinen is holding on to fourth place at the moment, as Schumacher is managing to get another impressive gap of 51 seconds, previously from 47. Once again, as a reminder, if he were to win this afternoon, this will put him a few points behind championship leader David Coulthard. But if Schumacher can keep scoring points consistently coming into the second half of this year's championship, he could find himself right back in the championship hunt. Oh, he's on the curbs! He's skidded! But he's just recovered and just avoid going on the grass. The curbs are still fairly slippery in places. Schumacher needs to be careful. He is holding on to an all-important race victory so far.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good, and he is that.
Well, as you said, Murray, earlier on, him being a superlative driver.
Race order: in first, Michael Schumacher; second, Gerhard Berger; in third position, David Coulthard; in fourth place, Damon Hill; fifth, Mika Häkkinen; in sixth, Johnny Herbert;
And now Johnny Herbert has moved up back into 6th place. And there was a bit of contact, I don't know if that was Bouillon with, I think a Lacey there in his Sauber. No, he's going to back out of that there. I know there is a blue flag, and I know he's trying to race alongside a Ferrari, which we do know, but he's already going to pit. Now, I think that might have been a Lacey. Yep, and that meant Bouillon is now took 5th, and he's made contact. What on earth was he doing, the Frenchman? He's made contact with, I think that was, as he just came out of the pits there, I think that was, I'm trying to see from all of the water spray, I think that was a Niue, I think, there. But he manages to get past him. He was shown a blue flag. Schumacher follows immediately after. And he has been given a black and white diagonal flag warning for once again unsportsmanlike behaviour. And that's quite shocking to see after the amazing races we've seen him. This is only his 3rd race of the championship so far this season.
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Damon Hill.
He drove very aggressively just then. I'm surprised that he could have drove a little bit more cleaner there, but Schumacher is comfortably past Bouillon there, and he's about to catch up with Finnish Mika Häkkinen, who is currently in 5th place. This has been some amazing driving from Michael this afternoon. And with all that going on, as he leads by 44 seconds, we've also now heard from Michael Schumacher's race engineer. He'll be coming in for his 2nd pit stop on lap 48 out of 72. I think he'll be fine for fuel, but he's been driving fairly cleanly at the moment, but I think some new tyres will be waiting for him in just a few laps' time. Oh, and he spun again on the curb! Oh!
Must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. Schumacher! That's right off the track there.
Well, for a 2nd time this afternoon, he spun at the same corner, on the curbs, onto the grass, and he's managed to keep the car going. He didn't beach the car there, even though that wasn't on gravel. But luckily, he kept the engine running, he didn't stall the car, and he managed to try and rejoin the track as safely as possible. Oh! He's done it again and caught some gravel. That was, I think, spilled onto the circuit there. But he's quickly turned around the car and got back underway.
First, Michael Schumacher in 2nd position, Gerhard Berger. In 3rd place, David Coulthard. 4th, Damon Hill. In 5th position, Jean-Christophe Bouillon. In 6th place, Mika Häkkinen.
And as quick as time as possible. But it just goes to show we had a feeling that not just Schumacher, but a few of the other drivers have been struggling with these conditions. They are so uneven around the circuit. And that's closed the gap also down for Gerhard Berger with 28 seconds. But Schumacher is still holding an all-important lead. Well, I wouldn't say he's loved them here, Murray. I thought he would have done a bit more better, but I think he's getting a little bit too adventurous here. Oh, that was a good little overtake, but he was going into the pits anyway. I think that might have been I think that might have been Hakkinen. He had a little battle there with, I think that's Lacey rejoining the track after his pit stop, as he also passes fellow Frenchman Bertrand Gachot in his Pacific Ford. Well, amazingly, despite these spins that Schumacher's been having, oh, and he's nearly done it again. He's still somehow...
First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. Fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth, Damon Hill. In sixth place, Rubens Barrichello.
And now Rubens Barrichello in his Jordan Peugeot. Even though it does show Mika Hakkinen, I think he might have pitted. He's now lost sixth place. And now Brazilian Rubens Barrichello in his Jordan. Oh! And I'm not sure if that was him in front. But I don't know if he might have collided. I think that was with Red Bull Sauber Ford of Frentzen, I think it was. We'll find out as soon as Schumacher gets past him. He just got cut off there from the racing line, but he will have a chance to overtake him down the Adelaide hairpin, and he does. I think he did have a dark helmet, so that must have been Frentzen. As he approaches again, Morbidelli's footwork, who overtakes him with no problem at all, nearly going onto the grass. It's quite a surprise to see the curb on that corner so far away. I thought it should have been moved, actually, especially for that being on the racing line of the circuit. Could catch a few drivers out like it has done with not just Schumacher this afternoon.
Michael Schumacher, second. Gerhard Berger. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Fifth, Rubens Barrichello. In sixth position, Damon Hill. He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
While as Schumacher starts lap 45, Rubens Barrichello now moves up into fifth place, and Damon Hill is holding on for another championship point for Williams at the moment. Coulthard looks like he might be out of this, but I could be wrong. That is if he is still managing to maintain that third place. As well as Schumacher holding on by 28 seconds. Despite those few times he spun the car around, he's still managing that he has got a sustainable time gap to the other drivers. I think Berger might be within a chance of taking the lead if Schumacher has another slow pit stop. But I'm sure Schumacher doesn't want that, as he's getting close to his second one of this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix here from Magny-Cours. And that's past Pierluigi Martini's Minardi.
In first, Michael Schumacher. Second, Gerhard Berger. They're really right on the edge, pushing into the limit all the time. In third place, David Coulthard. In fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth position, Rubens Barrichello. In sixth, Mark Blundell.
And now Mark Blundell, out of nowhere in the McLaren Mercedes, has now overtaken Damon Hill and now is in the points once more. Both the McLarens are in, supposedly, I was going to say initially the top 6, but I don't think Häkkinen, he dropped out slightly, I think. Whoa, over the curbs there. Hopefully the car didn't land too hard onto the track floor. Any damage of suspension that might affect the handling of that Benetton Renault. The Schumacher approaches Katayama. And he's about to approach Herbert there, Schumacher again, his teammate.
It's of adrenaline in that car.
He was looking very slow there. The marshals are waving a blue flag. Herbert needs to let him past.
First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. Fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth, Rubens Barrichello. In sixth place, Mark Blundell.
More drivers are doing their second pit stops. And now Schumacher is on the lap 48 out of 72 for his second and last pit stop, and he'll be coming in at the end of this lap. He's hoping for a good pit stop here. There can't be any mistakes if he's going to try and prevent Berger from possibly overtaking him. He may have pitted already, but we don't know just yet. A lot of pressure is on the young German here to try and hold that lead. 29 seconds. It'll take around about at least 25 seconds, including the pit stop, to get from the pit lane into his pit box and then to be out there, out into the pit lane exit. So he has to make every second count when he comes in here.
This young man really is a superlative driver.
Well, this could be the turning point for him, holding on to a lead in this race. In he comes from the lead, Michael Schumacher, for his second pit stop of this afternoon's French Grand Prix.
He'll be very aware that races can be won or lost in the pit lane. It's a quick one.
And it was only a pit stop of tyres.
First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. Fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth position, Mark Blundell. In sixth place, Rubens Barrichello.
Well, that's the pit stop that Schumacher needed of 6.5 seconds. His fuel counter was fine, so I think he can run the car till the end of the race, as he has about a half tank full of fuel there, so I think he's fine with that. Now Schumacher has just got to not just hold on to this precious race lead, but try and keep that gap to Berger. He's closing in on now by 11 seconds.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
He needs to overtake these back markers as quickly as possible. because the Austrian will be, I'm sure, hot on his heels, possibly in the next few laps. As Schumacher starts lap 50 out of 72 of this afternoon's French Grand Prix here from Magny-Cours. Ooh.
Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. Fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth, Marc Blundell. In sixth place, Rubens Barrichello.
Well, I tell you what, everybody, if you are still with us here on Grand Prix Formula One, this has been another very close race. I have to go back, I think, to that incredible comeback from Schumacher when he was racing against the former 1992 World Drivers' Champion of Nigel Mansell in his McLaren at the Spanish Grand Prix at Catalonia.
This young man really is a superlative driver.
And after his last pit stop, he managed to catch up with him with only, I think it was only 10 or 9 laps to go. And coming into the, I think it was the penultimate lap of the race, he managed to overtake him, no doubt, in the fast start-finish straight of the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona. And it was one of the most thrilling ends to any Grand Prix race we've had so far this season. But as wet weather races go so far, even though we had the dominance from Damon Hill at Imola, it's obviously been very different as the conditions are starting to lighten up a little bit. I think it stopped raining, but the track is still fairly damp in places. We're in
Race order. The race leader, Michael Schumacher. Second, Gerhard Berger. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Fifth, Marc Blundell. In sixth position, Rubens Barrichello.
I think we're certainly in for a thrilling end to this afternoon's race here at Magny-Cours as 20 laps are remaining
Man really is a superlative driver.
of this afternoon's French Grand Prix here from the Circuit Magny-Cours. Schumacher's about to approach, I think that's Martin Brundle's Ligier. Barrichello has been lapped for a third time, and I think that was him earlier on before he overtook Brundle there. Schumacher. A mistake at this time in the race may not be costly, but it all depends on worst case scenario. He did go on the curb there, but he kept the car under control there, Schumacher. Catching the back markers again. He needs to pass them as soon as possible here. He goes on the curb again. I thought there was a little screech of the tyres, but luckily Schumacher keeps the car under control. And this is quite unbelievable what we're seeing here at the moment. And now Taki Inoue in the footwork cart because of, I think, Barrichello pitted.
Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. Second, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. In fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Unbelievable. Fifth, Marc Blundell.
And I think...
Position. Taki Inoue.
Sorry there, Murray, I didn't mean to talk over there, but I can't believe that both the Ligiers managed to overtake Schumacher, but I think one of them tagged him, and I think that was Parnis, I think. And I think that's an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning, a black and white diagonal flag for causing an avoidable collision there from the Frenchman.
Oh my word!
And out of nowhere, what on earth was he doing? That, I think, was Hightail Frentzen rear-ending. Oh my God! They've almost been brought down to a standstill. Why were they driving so slow? Oh my goodness! And that has made Gerhard Berger almost catch up with Schumacher because of the back markers slowing the literally Schumacher down as being the outright leader of the race so far. Oh my goodness! Well, I think that was a deliberate collision there from, I think that was Hightail Frentzen. And yes, we have been told, I don't know if that was his third or last time.
Shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. Race order. The race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second, Gerhard Berger. Third, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth, Marc Blundell. In sixth position, Taki Inoue.
Well, if you did actually hear there was definitely an audible thud from, I think from the shunt there of, I think that was Hightail Frentzen in his Red Bull Sauber Ford, and it has been confirmed by the stewards that for causing that avoidable collision, and I think he's done it a few times this race, it has been officially confirmed he is going to be black flagged and disqualified from the race. That is if he does, of course, finish in the top 10, which might be likely to happen, but we'll find out at the end of the race. He should have known better there. Appalling driving again from the German. Of all the drivers to have done it, I honestly was certainly not expecting him to do that. Absolutely shameful, shameful driving there. But somehow Schumacher is still holding on to quite...
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
a tense 4.6. 9.6 I think that was, as we just came off the screen. Time difference.
Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. Second, Gerhard Berger. In third position, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Fifth, Marc Blundell. In sixth, Taki Inoue.
And as Schumacher approaches Herbert again, I think that might also be a Lacey. He's right up his rear wing. I know, I think Schumacher might have some damage on that rear wing, but does he risk pitting and trying to... I know he's already pitted for tyres, he'll be fine to the end of the race, but will that rear wing hold off until the end of the race? I do not know. This is quite the predicament for Schumacher, even though he is leading this race. And now it's down to 1 second. Oh!
Oh no! There was definitely contact between the two cars.
goes Murray! Gerhard Berger has just sideswiped Schumacher. Well, he most certainly is having a battle. But that was some very dangerous driving from the Austrian there, Gerhard Berger. And I think the stewards, yes, they have issued him, and that's a final warning. Unsportsmanlike behaviour there for Gerhard Berger, who is now surprisingly leading this Grand Prix.
He's breaking hard. Race order. In first place, Gerhard Berger. In second position, Michael Schumacher. In third, David Coulthard. Fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth position, Mark Blundell. In sixth place, Taki Inoue. He's closing the gap.
But we do know that even though Berger is leading, I think with the collision that just happened there, I think it will be looked at maybe after the race. No, Schumacher, he's coming in to have that rear wing changed. I think that's a very wise decision there. I know he didn't want to do that initially.
He'll be very aware that races can be won or lost in the pit lane.
And he's got damage on his front wing also. Another top up of fuel. He's got the time here, even though it's going to be a very long pit stop.
That's a slow one.
Well, I know that was an unexpected pit stop. I think he was brought in a little bit unexpectedly there from his race. Of course, race engineer and the pit crew, even though they had to change the car there, change the front and rear wing, they still managed to try and change it as quickly as possible. But at least now Schumacher has got a repaired car, and now he can concentrate in these wet weather conditions.
Race order. The race leader, Gerhard Berger. In second place, Michael Schumacher. Third, David Coulthard. In fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth place, Mark Blundell. In sixth position, Taki Inoue.
Oh, he's just gone on the grass. I'm sorry, the curbs there. Sorry, Michael Schumacher. For correcting myself, everybody.
You've got to be good. And he is that.
Well, we have had it all this afternoon here at Magny-Cours. Another manic race as Schumacher overtakes Damon Hill.
The gap is increasing.
I wouldn't be surprised that with that overtake we saw from Coulthard there, from Gerhard Berger, I think that is going to be a very interesting thing to look at there among the stewards. I think even if Berger does win this afternoon's Grand Prix, I think he might have that race victory stripped from him because of that dangerous driving there from just a few laps ago. As we approach the final 12 laps of this afternoon's French Grand Prix.
Race order. In first, Gerhard Berger. In second place, Michael Schumacher. Third, David Coulthard. In fourth position, Mark Blundell. In fifth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
Well, that's a real shame for Michael there. I don't know what on earth Gerhard was thinking earlier on, even though he was getting slowed up by back markers. After the incredible drive Schumacher's had this afternoon, he deserves a race win here. And just that Ayrton Senna-esque move there from Berger earlier on. There was no need for that kind of driving. That was very unnecessary, if I ever saw anything like that.
Shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. Race order. In first place, Gerhard Berger. In second position, Michael Schumacher. Third, David Coulthard. The gap is growing. In fourth place, Mark Blundell. Fifth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. He's hard on the brakes. In sixth place, Taki Inoue.
He did lock up there. I think I don't know if he may have tagged that Williams. I don't know if that was Damon Hill. He didn't see him at the last minute there. Well, whoever that is, I think he might have got an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning for that move. Because if he's already lapped, he should get out the way. Blundell moves up to fourth place over Jean-Christophe Pouliot now in his McLaren Mercedes.
Be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. He's hard on the brakes. Race order. In first place, Gerhard Berger. Second, Michael Schumacher. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Mark Blundell. In fifth position, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Sixth, Taki Inoue.
Well, I've already just been, if I haven't said already, there is a lot of...
The gap is growing.
A lot of movement at race control, having their, of course, opinion and the wait there for their verdict on what to do with Gerhard Berger. Despite him leading now by 30 seconds at the moment. If his race victory will stand when he crosses the line. And this is the first time ever in this series that this situation has actually happened. We do know that the AI in this game, they're literally almost stuck on rails, if we've mentioned before. They're very aggressive, and they would do anything to hold a position. Very, of course,
In first place, Gerhard Berger. Second, Michael Schumacher. In third position, David Coulthard. In fourth, Mark Blundell. The gap is increasing. In fifth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In sixth, Taki Inoue.
But if it were to happen that if Berger were to be disqualified from the race from that collision on Schumacher, Schumacher will be awarded the win instead, and Schumacher, or then again, of course, Berger will be exempt from the race and lose championship points, because that was a very impulsive move there on him from earlier on, and for that to happen completely out of nowhere, that was something that we certainly did not expect to see from the Austrian as of this afternoon. Schumacher has improved his fastest lap on 1 minute 26.274. And he is closing the gap onto Berger. I think he is starting to go slower here.
The race leader, Gerhard Berger. In second place, Michael Schumacher. He's closing the gap. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Mark Blundell. In fifth position, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In sixth, Taki Inoue.
Well, I know it looked quite unlikely, but I feel like Schumacher's starting to find a bit of pace here.
He's closing the gap.
He's now down to 20 seconds. But has Schumacher got enough time to catch up with Berger here? Oh, he's gone wide onto the grass. He didn't spin the car though.
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Well, he must be shedding
A lot of time there.
a load of buckets of adrenaline, because a lot of anger, I think, and aggression is starting to come out of the young German's head right now. He is determined to try and prove that he can race cleanly and not rely on dirty tactics, which I'm sure there may not have had influence from even himself. Oh, he's stuck behind. I think that's...
And the gap is closing.
I think that was Olivier Panis.
He's closing the gap.
It's now down to 17 seconds.
Race order. The race leader, Gerhard Berger. Second, Michael Schumacher. In third position, David Coulthard. In fourth, Mark Blundell. In fifth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Sixth, Taki Inoue.
I think Berger's tyres are starting to wear, and he looks like he is slowing down.
You've got to be good. And he is that.
Hence why Schumacher, he's managed to maintain them surprisingly well, but he is going to try and hold out to the end of the race here. His race engineer has told him about the...
Definitely contact between the two cars.
Well, I think that might have been Brundle that was responsible for that, and I think he has also unbelievably got himself an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning. He did, there was a blue flag shown to him. I'm surprised he didn't let him pass there. As we head towards the final 5 laps of this afternoon's 1995 French Grand Prix.
He's definitely gaining.
I don't know where this pace has come from, but Schumacher is literally flying round the circuit here. He hasn't done any other faster laps though, but the pace of his Benetton has just, out of nowhere, has just literally started to...
Race order. In first place, Gerhard Berger. In second position, Michael Schumacher. Third, David Coulthard. They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time. In fourth position, Mark Blundell. In fifth place, Taki Inoue. In sixth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. And he's gained a lot of time now.
He's now down to 9 seconds and he overtakes Herbert.
And the gap is closing.
8 seconds now. Wow, this is brilliant driving. I feel like this is very reminiscent of what he did back at the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona. Another fastest lap of 1 minute 24.850. This has been some brilliant driving from the German this afternoon.
He's closing the gap.
Now down to 7.374 hundredths of a second, with only a few laps to go. It looks like Schumacher is attempting to do the impossible here. Loads of drivers are late pitting.
We're into the penultimate lap. And the gap is closing. They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time. Race order. The race leader, Gerhard Berger. Second, Michael Schumacher. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Mark Blundell. In fifth place, Taki Inoue. In sixth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot.
As we go into the penultimate lap, lap 71 out of 72 here of the French Grand Prix. Oh no!
Dear, there was definitely contact between the two cars.
I think that might have been Pouliot, and I feel like he could have been... He should have let him pass there. I think he ignored the blue flag. But he's just about to catch up to Gerhard Berger on the final lap, as he's about to start the final lap of the 1995 French Grand Prix.
And it's the last lap of the race. And the gap is closing.
And I think there is Berger. Can Schumacher just overtake him on the final lap? What an incredible end to this afternoon's French Grand Prix here.
And he's gained a lot of time.
He's only got half a lap to overtake him. Can he do it?
Shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
He's gonna go in for a move. He's got him! Schumacher out of nowhere just beats Gerhard Berger. He was been caught napping, and now he regains the lead of the French Grand Prix.
Gerhard Berger. In third position, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Taki Inoue.
Oh! He went to go for him again.
Mark Blundell. In sixth position, Jean-Christophe Pouliot.
But Berger has lost his chance. Michael Schumacher wins the 1995 French Grand Prix.
Crosses the line to euphoric applause.
It's a win for Michael Schumacher. That's a great result for the Benetton team. He's in a class of his own.
Well, I can't believe what we've just seen, and the French crowd have literally gone berserk. And that was one of the most closest race wins we have ever seen so far this year in the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship so far. An unbelievable, impressive comeback from Germany's Michael Schumacher as he wins his second race victory of the year and another impressive race victory in his Formula One career, and also, most importantly, for the Benetton Renault team, also running with Renault engines as also a home constructor and also engine manufacturer at once again, the French Grand Prix. What an impressive result for a Renault not just powered car, but once again, to clarify, in one of the most incredible and most closest race victories we have ever seen so far on this series of Grand Prix Formula One. Michael Schumacher of Germany for Benetton Renault wins the 1995 French Grand Prix here from the Circuit Magny-Cours. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that race sadly had to end in the way that it did. Well, there you go, everybody, and unfortunately that was quite one of the most controversial ends to any of the races so far in this series of Grand Prix Formula One, and that once again concludes, of course, all of the highlights from round 7 of the 1995 reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship with the 1995 French Grand Prix from the Circuit Magny-Cours in France. And all I can say is an unbelievable drive. I think it has to be said, I feel like after the nail-biting finish we had with Michael Schumacher, once again as he wins another race victory of this year's Reimagined Championship, but unfortunately, due to a very impulsive error, I think it has to be said, from the Austrian of Gerhard Berger from Ferrari. We have been, of course, many hours have passed since before we brought to you all of the highlights of this particular race on this, of course, edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. And as you did actually see there, mentioned in commentary by myself and Murray, we did see that Gerhard impulsively ran into the rear end and shunted the rear wing of Michael Schumacher's Benetton. And with that, we, of course, the stewards have been looking into this. I mean, there has been so much activity. It's just been absolute chaos at the race control and the stewards. And the FIA have had a full-blown, of course, it's become a real confrontation about how what has happened. Even of course, the team manager of Ferrari was absolutely furious with Gerhard Berger for doing the driving style that he did, picking up once again a few multiple black and white diagonal flag warnings for unsportsmanlike behaviour. And we can now confirm that, unbelievably, even though that, as you did hear there in commentary from Murray Walker, we did actually see that despite Michael Schumacher lapping most of the field by an incredible 3 laps, we do know that following that, of course, incident that happened with Gerhard Berger, and he was facing disqualification from the race for ignoring a few of those warnings. But we can unbelievably confirm that even though you did see Gerhard Berger on the podium just earlier on, we can now confirm that after the race, he immediately was ordered to go to the stewards and to report on why he drove in the way that he did in the closing, of course, laps of this year's French Grand Prix and this afternoon's French Grand Prix from Magny-Cours. And we can confirm that due to causing a unavoidable accident, or actually also causing a deliberate, of course, collision and forcing another driver nearly off the circuit, we have confirmed that, we can confirm here that the FIA have confirmed that Gerhard Berger for Ferrari is going to be disqualified and exempt. He's going to lose his 2nd place and his 6 points of the Drivers' Championship due to that style of driving. And with that being said, that has now also moved up David Coulthard, who initially finished in 3rd, but now he has been promoted to 2nd due to that disqualification. And also, as we did see there from, of course, from the likes of, we also can confirm, also, if you are seeing on your screen right now, this is the current revised French Grand Prix, of course, results following the disqualification of Gerhard Berger. That meant that Marc Blundell, unbelievably, even though he initially finished 4th for McLaren Mercedes, he's now been moved up to 3rd place. So, and unbelievably, he's managed to get another podium for this year, which is absolutely incredible to see that as well. Once again, Michael Schumacher takes his 2nd race victory of this year's reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship season, along with David Coulthard, and amazing to see him on the podium once again after winning the previous round once again at Canada in Montreal. And both of them finished behind by 3 laps. And amazingly, also, once again, another high points finish for Brazilian Rubens Barrichello, finishing in 4th place and behind by 4 laps. And we also did find out here that we did know that, as you did actually see with the likes of Taki Inoue, Jean-Christophe Bouillon, and also Roberto Marino were initially on the in the top 10 going in towards the end of this Grand Prix race. But we can confirm that when Schumacher crossed the line ahead of Berger, there was still many laps for them to finish ahead of Schumacher. And we can confirm a quick few retirements that Taki Inoue for Footwork Heart spun out on a wet patch of the circuit. Jean-Christophe Bouillon suffered a gearbox problem towards the final few laps of the race also. And Roberto Merino also had to retire out from reliability issues and suffering an engine failure. So we can confirm that. So with also that being said, we have unbelievably found out that, as you can see, that Damon Hill, David Coulthard's Williams Renault teammate, finishes unbelievably in the points for the first time since Imola at San Marino, in 5th place with 2 points behind by 4 laps, as well as Rubens Barrichello, as we just mentioned. And also, unbelievably, finally getting his first point of the championship after a very impressive start from 2nd place initially, and that is Finnish Mika Hakkinen for McLaren Mercedes, and he also finished behind by 4 laps there, behind Michael Schumacher. Once again, if we haven't said already, he finished the race with a total time of 1 hour, 52 minutes and 14.926 hundredths of a second. Just missing out on the points, another of the British drivers, Martin Brundle, managed to get into 7th place there in his Ligier Mugen Honda, behind by 5 laps, along with another impressive performance also, even though he got pole earlier on from the start of the race, of Northern Irishman Eddie Irvine in the 2nd Jordan Peugeot, also finishing behind by 5 laps in 8th. And John Alesi managed to take 9th place, also finishing behind by 6 laps. And great to see that both of, well, I wouldn't say both of the Ferrari drivers there before Gerhard Berger was disqualified. They were up for a good points haul initially this weekend, but Gerhard has really let the team down in a huge way due to that disqualification, and of course causing that deliberate, of course, collision once again with Schumacher, who once again, if you did see earlier on in the race, had to make an extra pit stop to both repair his front and rear wings. And rounding off the top 10 is Yukio Katayama for Tyrrell Yamaha, and he was behind by 7 laps. And also we can also clarify that due to the incredible pace that Schumacher had in the, of course, the last quarter of this afternoon's French Grand Prix, he managed to set the fastest lap with a fastest lap time of 1 minute 24 seconds, 0.850 hundredths of a second. So everybody, that's of course, as we see there, with due to that disqualification there from, of course, Gerhard Berger for Ferrari. Really unfortunate that he, of course, picked that up, but I think it's a very good decision. It may have been deemed quite harshly there by the FIA stewards. But if I was a steward in this particular race position, I think I would have done exactly the same thing there, and I think that is quite an unfortunate and quite a shameful performance from the Austrian. I mean, he never, of course, raced like that in real life, and I feel like down to the AI, of course, as we mentioned from earlier on during the race highlights, they just literally are stuck to the track like they're on rails, just on the racing line. They don't even care when, of course, if you're trying to overtake them. They do try their best to try and catch up with you, even when you go slow. They go for moves when you're off the racing line. It's just absolutely crazy, and with that happening multiple times during this race, I certainly wasn't expecting this Grand Prix to be the frantic and quite chaotic race it was, going back to almost a few weeks ago when we were at Monte Carlo in Monaco. So but anyway, with all that being said, let's get straight now to, of course, updating the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship point table so far, as we are nearing, unbelievably, the halfway point of this year's Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship. And as we start with the Drivers' Championship, and even though Michael Schumacher took his 2nd race victory of this year, it still isn't enough, as currently, once again, David Coulthard extends his his lead in the Drivers' Championship by 36 points, and he is now just 8 points behind Michael Schumacher, who stays in second place. But due to not finishing in the points, Johnny Herbert drops down from third. Of course, Michael Schumacher's Benetton Renault teammate down to fourth place. And Mark Blundell from another impressive podium finish due to that disqualification of Gerhard Berger, held on to now move up into third place, and now is just ahead and just behind by, I think that's 9 points from Schumacher with 19. Once again, Johnny Herbert is just 2 points behind him in fourth with 17 points, and 1 point behind also for Damon Hill, as he has closed the gap also on Johnny Herbert, and he is in fifth place at the moment. In sixth place is Rubens Barrichello, just 2 points behind with 14. And then, as we've just mentioned already, following that disqualification to Gerhard Berger, he stays where he is at the moment in seventh place with 12 points. And his Frenchman, of course, teammate for Ferrari of Jean Alesi is 2 points behind in eighth place, with 10 points at the moment. And still following after since they both missed out on the points once again, Jean-Christophe Boulion, due to that gearbox problem, and also since, of course, Carl Wendlinger is being, of course, absent for another race weekend. He still is in ninth place at the moment with 5 points, and his French teammate Jean-Christophe Bourgnon is still in 10th place at the moment with still 4 points. Mika Hakkinen, out of the points, is currently in 14th alongside Germany's Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who did pick up a few also other unsportsmanlike behaviour, black and white flag warnings throughout this afternoon's Grand Prix, also with one other point, as well as Mika Salo, who also is still got 1 point for the Tyrrell Yamaha team. So with that covering the drivers now, let's move quickly on to, once again, the Constructors' Championship. And now this has made it very interesting at the moment, because even though that Benetton had that all-important 10 points to themselves in the Constructors' Championship, Williams-Renault, though, are still holding out a narrow 1 point lead, as they just narrowly lead by 42 points over 41 to Benetton, and it's very interesting to see how incredible how both these teams, there is so little in it between both these drivers, and especially with that, of course, double points finish for Williams, that has made all the difference, especially with, of course, Hill's fifth place, and once again Coulthard finishing in second there. Once again McLaren are in third, and they overtake, or they continue their lead. I think they initially were behind by Ferrari a few races ago, but now they are 29 points ahead of Ferrari. That's their total at the moment, and they're only just 6 points behind Ferrari, who are currently still in fourth place. But Jordan Peugeot are also still managing to catch up with Ferrari, but they have still got an 8 point gap between them at the moment, and they are still also 4 points ahead of Sauber, who are still in sixth place at the moment with 10 points, and still with no points scored still at the moment after the last few races. Seventh is Tyrrell Yamaha with 4 points. Ligier Mugen Honda are in third, eighth with 3 points, and once again rounding off in ninth and last place at the moment are Footwork Kart with still only 2 points at the moment. Well, there you go, everybody. In all of that absolute chaos we saw on the race today, it still has been one unbelievable race. And if you honestly thought that all of that action was anything to go by, drama seemed to follow drama, but somehow Michael Schumacher has won his first wet weather race of the Grand Prix season of 1995, this reimagined season. And even though that we did, of course, have the wet weather condition setting on the race that we did see there, we couldn't do, of course, drizzle conditions. It was the closest thing that we could have done to. But the race that we had today, though, I mean, as races go, that has been the most incredible wet weather race we have had so far this season, and I think that's going to take some beating, because next time out here on Grand Prix Formula 1 we are staying in Europe, and now it's time for all of you British fans, the moment you have been waiting for, as the next time you'll be seeing us on, once again, the 13th of July. We will be live from Silverstone for round 9 of the 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship Reimagined, as we'll be heading to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. And following the impressive performance from Williams' Damon Hill, who won here last time out last year, I'm sure that he would love to become the second repeat winner of course, the British Grand Prix, and wouldn't that be amazing? Of course, as I've said before, we've had a brilliant performance from the likes of, once again, with David Coulthard, Damon Hill and Johnny Herbert there, and especially with, before this afternoon's race, having a podium of all three drivers from the United Kingdom. That would be absolutely amazing. And with also that being said, since I did happen to mention it also at the time of also recording this at the moment, also in the Jackpot Button Lewis, of course, sports universe, there is also another chance for also you to catch up with the current 75th anniversary celebratory season of the 2025 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, as you can get the opportunity, as later on this weekend, coming up here also on Jackpot Button Lewis 2, we will be live also from Silverstone, as we'll be having round 13 of the 2025 FIA Formula 1 World Championship with the 2025 Formula 1 Qatar Airways British Grand Prix, and we're hoping, after an impressive performance from Lando Norris for the McLaren Mercedes team, after an impressive first victory winning at the Red Bull Ring in Austria last time out, he is hoping that after the misfortune of only finishing third, but he still managed to get on the podium for a second time in the last few years at Silverstone, he is wanting to hopefully win the British Grand Prix for the first time. But especially, you've also got the likes of course, the local driver from Kings Lynn, just the same as Martin Brundle, surprisingly, in our series to this one, and that is also with George Russell there for the Mercedes AMG Grand Prix team. And not to mention, also, for the first time since he retired from racing with the team last year, and also unbelievably winning there this time last year in 2024, Lewis Hamilton, or of course, to also quote him now, as he officially got knighted last year, Sir Lewis Hamilton, dubbed as the King of Silverstone, is hoping also to put on a great performance for the Ferrari team, and hopefully be the first British driver to win in a Ferrari car since, I think, 1980, I think, with, I think that being John Watson was the last British driver to win in a Ferrari at a British Grand Prix. And once again, we will have live coverage of that also from, of course, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, the 5th of July, and also we do have the live race coverage for you also from 3 o'clock on the 6th of July on this Sunday as well. And it is certainly an exciting race to look forward to as well. And as well as that, we've also got other sport coming up here on Jackpot Button Lewis Sport Productions over this weekend. And as well as that, we have also got the, you can also get the opportunity, as also on Jackpot Button Lewis 1 from later on that very same day, also on Saturday, the 5th of July, the Lionesses of England are starting their campaign to hopefully defend their UEFA Women's European Football Championship title, as they take on their first opponents in their group, as they take on France from Lettisgrund, the Stadion Lettistingsgrund, Letzengrud, sorry there, my apologies if I pronounced the name of the stadium wrong there, from, of course, Switzerland, and we'll be having live coverage from 8 o'clock on Saturday, and you are hoping to see the likes of, once again, Alicia Russo and Chloe Kelly, the player who was responsible for securing the women's, of course, Euros title for the first time ever in history for the Lionesses for England, and that will be very exciting indeed, especially with of course, it is the first time that the England women's team, have actually won that particular championship following an impressive win over Germany, scoring 2-1 in the final, thanks to Ella Toon and, as I mentioned, Chloe Kelly, who was the heroiness of that particular match. And it's amazing to know that we are going to be, of course, giving you all the coverage and live coverage from Switzerland with that as well. And not to mention, we've also, if you have not seen already, there is also another chance, but also you to catch up with the third day extended highlights from Wimbledon 2025, and we'll look forward to a very interesting match with the likes of the number 4 seed and the British men's number 1 of Jack Draper, taking on, I think he was one of the players who came from that being of Croatia, and he is still one of our best hopefuls to hopefully go far in this year's Wimbledon Championships. And it's very exciting to see that hopefully we'll see him triumph over the likes of if I can just quickly get his name. My apologies for this happening, because I know I wasn't expecting to do this, but we do know that from tomorrow it is going to be very exciting to see how he will get on against Marlin Cilic of Croatia. And as I said before, also we've still got the likes of Cameron Norrie, and not to mention also with Emma Raducanu also already ahead or going through to the second round of in the women's singles. So it's very exciting to see, and especially with the likes of Novak Djokovic still playing, and also the current men's champion of course, Carlos Alcaraz. There is still lots to look forward to over the next few days here on Jackpot, Button Lewis Sport Productions. But anyway, with that, of course, out the way now, we have come to the end of another and quite eventful, and I think a quite unforgettable edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, it has to be said. As we mentioned, we will be back in 2 weeks' time for the home race for loads of the teams and for the British drivers, with the likes of David Coulthard and Damon Hill and Johnny Herbert, and even the likes possibly of Martin Brundle as well, being one of the other potential drivers, and maybe even Eddie Irvine also in his Jordan Peugeot. It would be amazing for another British driver to step on the top or step of the podium in just a few weeks' time. But we do know that also we can confirm that as we head to, of course, Great Britain for the next edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, weather conditions are set to still remain dry, but we do know that it will still remain cloudy and a little bit of wind, but we do know there is no rain expected, so it won't be as manic as the race as you saw from earlier on today. But once again, to clarify, David Coulthard, might make that, of course, also Michael Schumacher, after an unbelievable and quite challenging drive in, of course, very damp conditions here at the Circuit Magny-Cours here in France. He has took another victory of this year's 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, but still David Coulthard is still leading by a few points in the Drivers' Championship, and also Williams Renault are still, of course, still bringing the fight to Benetton as we edge ever so closer towards the end of the first half of this year's Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship. So with that being said, thanks very much for watching the live extended, of course, well, I wouldn't say live, but extended, of course, race highlights of this edition of course, Grand Prix Formula 1. And as always, if you have enjoyed this edition of this programme, don't forget to give it a like, comment down below on your thoughts on the race, and don't forget to subscribe also to my official YouTube channel of Jackpot Button Lewis Productions, and you can, of course, catch up with all the latest, and we've also got an exciting, of course, mid-season review, of course, season review special episode in the works following the next race of the British Grand Prix, which will be happening once again in 2 weeks' time. But from me, Jack Wright, thanks very much for watching, and as always, until next time, we'll see you for round, that being round 8 actually, I was going to say there, of the 1995 reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship with the 1995 British Grand Prix, once again live from Silverstone. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, and bonsoir, mesdames and messieurs. Are we done? Oh, my word. And it's just absolute drama following drama and following drama. After the problems we've had from the last episode, and then to that race that we just had from earlier on today, that was absolutely indescribable. Honestly, I can't believe from what we saw there, but what a race though. That was actually the closest race we've had so far this series. That couldn't have got any closer, as not just even for being a wet weather race as well, and even though that wasn't supposed to be pouring like heavy rain conditions either. That was absolutely insane. Well, of course, with that now out of the way, we can now definitely get rid of that French flag. And then, of course, it's all about the best of British next time out, everybody. Now, who's your money on for winning the British Grand Prix, then? Well, then again, of course, we've also, with this running alongside the current season as well, it's going to be quite an exciting weekend, honestly, when that race comes around. Well, whatever happens, let's hope that we see another incredible race, but let's hope it doesn't end in the way that it happened there for Gerhard Berger last time out there. Now, of course, since we moved on from this French Grand Prix. But well done, everybody. That was a fantastic episode. And once again, that concludes another edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. And once again, extended race highlights of round 7 of the 1995 French Grand Prix from the Circuit Magny-Cours in France. And cut.